afternoon and good evening and good morning to my viewers on the West Coast and in the Pacific region, and welcome to another episode, live streaming episode of the Angry Astronaut. Thank you very much for joining me today. Today, things are going to be taking a little bit of a different turn than I have done in the past. When I first started this channel almost 2 years ago now, I looked upon Blue Origin as a company that I thought I was going to be reporting on in terms of being competitive, there being a back and forth between the two big billionaires on the planet, between Bezos and Elon Musk, and these two companies would both be achieving, both be innovating, both be driving private space flight forward. It only took me a few months to realize just how much Blue Origin sucked, and that's where I have been ever since. However, what this episode is about is what might happen to Blue Origin in the future. Is there any way for them to pull themselves out of this rut that they're in? Because believe it or not, they do have one particular advantage that they have seized recently. And that advantage that they now have is private space flight. Excuse me. They've carried out two successful launches of New Shepard, fairly close to each other, kind of not quite back to back, but fairly close. And they had paying customers on both of them, and those flights went flawlessly. Whereas Virgin Galactic, they had their one flight that didn't actually have any civilians on board. It had Richard Branson, of course, but that was about it. And of course, we have, Crew Dragon that can deliver a much, much, much bigger experience. But at the same time, how many people are going to have 50 million? And obviously, yeah, SpaceX is leading the race to space. That's obvious. We got a poll going right now, and that is very clear. But that's a lot of money that people have to drop if they want to do that big orbital experience with SpaceX on Crew Dragon. Whereas in theory, depending on whether or not Jeff Bezos actually delivers on what he's promising, then you might be able to do this suborbital flight like Bill Shatner did for a few $100,000. Virgin Galactic is already quoting 250,000. They have tons of people backed up and pre-reserved, but they are not going to be flying again until later next year, until maybe third quarter next year. They need to do a review of their equipment if they're having these kinds of problems. And usually I speak very well about Virgin Galactic, but right now I've got my doubts. Can they really do launch after launch after launch without having, to do significant overhauls of their equipment? That is a bit of a concern, I would think, if I were a Virgin Galactic employee. And I'm actually a stockholder in Virgin Galactic, and I'm gambling right now and putting what little funds I have into picking up a few shares. And yes, here is this dreaded mug, which is getting closer and closer to getting blown to bits. This, as I've mentioned before, when I get to 90,000 subscribers, I will be doing a two-stage launch of the Boeing mug and the Blue Origin mug to see just how far up it can get. But yeah, I mean, it could be Blue Origin is now kind of in the driver's seat and carried out two successful flights with New Shepard. They may be in the driver's seat in terms of providing affordable space tourism. And when I'm saying affordable, I'm saying, a millionaire with maybe $10 million in the bank, could afford to do that, whereas they certainly couldn't afford to do it on Crew Dragon. So, if they want a brief suborbital space experience, the only choice that people have right now is Blue Origin, and they may be able to start a revenue stream going off of this one particular source of income. And the question is, of course, the question that comes to mind is, what are they going to do with that money? What if they do capitalize on that? If they do start becoming profitable, then what are they really going to be able to achieve? That is the $1 million or $1 billion question that we've got. Of course, Jeff has made his statement about what they intend to do about exporting heavy industry off of the planet, taking all of these destructive things that we do here, all of this heavy mining, all of this heavy manufacturing, take all of that into space where we can't harm the planet with it anymore. I've always admired that goal, but they don't seem to be doing a hell of a lot to achieve it. The New Glenn is making such horribly glacial progress, and by the time they actually do have it completed, I don't even know if there's going to be a market for it. With Starship probably being functioning by then, with Vulcan certainly being functional by then, who the hell is even going to see a use for New Glenn? So, that's where Blue Origin is falling apart, and where they've been falling apart for quite some time. Can they eventually drag themselves back from that? That's a tough question. And to be perfectly honest, I would like to see them drag themselves back from it. I am in favor of competition. I don't want to see a monopoly. I don't like monopolies. It's one of the reasons why I like ULA. But Blue Origin, they certainly have the innovation. They've got some ideas, but the execution is where it's falling apart, where they're just not accomplishing nearly as much as they should be able to, given the amount of money that they have at their disposal. By the way, if you are Discord supporters, live stream Q&A, didn't have a chance to post that, but you can go on to live stream Q&A and ask your questions there. Sorry I didn't post that. Vulcan will be grounded without ample supplies of BE-4s. Have they delivered a single working one yet? It depends on how you define a working one. Is it flight certified? No, it is not. And ULA, as I have said many times, have put themselves in a very, very serious position by relying on Blue Origin to provide them with their propulsion for Vulcan. They are in deep, deep trouble if they have to rely on a company that seems to be having issues in delivering this type of engine. Blue Origin has obviously demonstrated that they can do a hydrogen-oxygen engine fairly effectively, but the methalox or liquid natural gas plus oxidizer type of solution, so far they've demonstrated that it works, but not that it's flight certified. And it should have been flight certified a hell of a long time ago, and they've put ULA in a very, very tough position. So yeah, I mean, Blue Origin has really produced, aside from New Shepard, they've produced nothing but either failure or unacceptable delays. And that absolutely needs to stop if they are going to be taken seriously. Now, will they be able to continue hanging around? Well, of course, they're supported by a ridiculously wealthy person who has a history of not giving up on anything. But at the same time, that only means that they're just going to continue to be a gigantic pain in the ass, rather than being something, an institution that's going to contribute towards innovation in the private space arena. And that needs to change, obviously. That's not what they should be known for, but that is indeed what they are known for right now. So, how does this change? Where do the opportunities exist? Well, NASA has actually put forward in Jeff's dreams, where are my engines? Thank you, Graham, so much. The U.S. space government is brought in with decisions Congress takes with all the corrupt lobbying. Go Cornwall, go Sutherland, go Orbex and Skyrora. Yes, indeed. And I will add to that, go Black Arrow. Some very, very homegrown British, very good homegrown British private rocket companies that have some things going. Thank you very much for the 18 quid. Really do appreciate it, especially since I am continuing to take step after step towards my relocation to Great Britain. I just delivered a lot of documents to my immigration attorneys, so there is a lot happening. And I've got some support actually from the private space industry, who I'm not going to give any specifics, but I've got support from members of the private space industry in Britain who want me over there to report on this. So I'm very happy about it. Here we go. I think the Blue Origin will become much more than it currently is. They know the bad press. They know they're behind on all schedules. Maybe that could change. True. Oh, thank you, PebMets, for the $20. Really appreciate it. With the issues keeping tiles on starships, maybe abandon the new attachment method, go with what the shuttle did. The shuttle got them to stay on Starship on top of the booster. No debris hit issue with the shuttle suffered. Yeah, I don't know about the heat tile issue with Starship. Actually, my next recorded video is going to be about Starship and about how I think they should be doing some more tests with the orbiter, with the Starship portion of it, some more hop tests. I think that would serve SpaceX very well while they're waiting for this approval to come through from the FAA. So anyway, the one opportunity that I see actually is the commercial crew. NASA, as I have mentioned in my most recent video, which has proven to be amazingly popular, talking about Starliner perhaps being canceled, is the fact that NASA has put out a request for information, or RFI. Thank you, Craig, by the way, for joining up and becoming an angry advocate. This RFI that NASA has put out, request for information about providing transportation to the ISS. This is an obvious statement on the part of NASA that they are losing confidence in the Starliner, that they are seeing the possibility that they definitely have recognized that Starliner may never be ready to take human crews up to the ISS. Of course, publicly they say, oh yeah, we have, belief in Boeing, we trust Boeing, blah, blah, blah. But at the same time, if they had complete trust for Boeing and for Starliner, then this RFI would not be out there, because they don't need more than 2 commercial crew solutions going to the ISS. They just don't require that. The only reason they require more than 2 is because one of the solutions isn't working and may never work. And even if it does end up working, is it ever going to be safe? This thing is so glitch-ridden. So, to get back to Blue Origin, Blue Origin put forward a proposal in the original commercial crew program for their own capsule. Not a great deal of information was given or released by Blue Origin to the general public about this, but nevertheless, it was a 4-passenger capsule of sorts, and they certainly have the designs and everything still on file. So maybe they jump into the arena again for commercial crew. It gives them an opportunity. $9 billion for Dynetics. Land around the impossible is a huge amount of money for a landable pressure vessel. SpaceX's stage. There's a note. You're talking about designing an entire innovative system from the ground up. And that is just a very, very expensive thing to do. Look at how much the F-35 has cost. The F-35 air superiority fighter has cost the U.S. government. It's insane by way of comparison. So that much is really not that unreasonable, in my opinion. Get a man on Mars. Yes, indeed, Jet. Thank you so much for the super chat. And that is indeed what we should. And of course, I'm wearing my Mars Base Alpha merch. A little bit of it, merch on that. My opinion that we should put a base and a fuel depot on Phobos. And yeah, Bezos hasn't even reached orbit. It's true. He hasn't. He should have been able to by now. He has even the capability. The BE3 engine, used in a different configuration, could get to orbit. The amount of thrust that it's required to get the New Shepard's capsule to suborbital flight is more powerful than the Rocket Lab Electron's total thrust. It has the capability to put, small sats into orbit. It has the thrust to do it. So why not design kind of an in-between rocket or something like that, until New Glenn is available, something for smaller payloads. But no, instead it's New Glenn or bust, and New Glenn is making absurdly slow progress. Lord Burkhardt says, adjusted for inflation, Apollo 11 would have cost around $194 billion. $9 billion for a lander is amazing and shows how far technology has come. Oh, Damon, thank you so much for the super chat. Really do appreciate it. Thank you so much for your generosity. You're right, Lord Burkhardt, absolutely. Developing things from the ground up is expensive as hell, and that is indeed what Dynetics has been doing. Jeremy, with your super chat, thank you. What would it take for Blue Origin to start being part of the solution and stop being part of the problem? I don't know, either a change in leadership or a change in the attitude of the leadership. Jeff needs to get it, hammered into his head that what he's doing now is just obstructionism rather than innovation. He's not helping the space industry at all with what he's doing. Instead, he should try to innovate his way into competition, into a competitive position, rather than suing his way into a competitive position. By the way, please subscribe. I'm very close to 70,000 subscribers right now. I'm very excited about that. 90,000 means the destruction of this mug. And for those of you who have been supporting me, super chats and Patreon, etc., thank you so much. It means all the difference in the world to me. Bozo trying to slow SpaceX down. Yeah, he is. There's no question about that. He most definitely is. And slowing down SpaceX, given that SpaceX right now is the only landing system designed to put humans on the surface of the moon, it's slowing down our ability to get to the moon. That is all these lawsuits are accomplishing. Greg says, I'd like to see Blue Origin get New Glenn to orbit. If they get the second stage to be reusable even better. Yeah, absolutely. That would be a great thing to see happen. And really, Jeff needs to invest more of his own damn money into this if he wants to see this happen. He needs to stop relying on the U.S. military, on NASA, on other government institutions to fund his innovation. He's got the money to fund this all day. He really doesn't need the assistance of anybody. But that's what he keeps doing. He keeps trying to get these contracts. He gets some of them. And then, if he doesn't get a contract, he sues. There are better ways around this, much better ways around this. And, if Jeff wants to go from being one of the most hated individuals on the planet to somebody who's seen as being, leading the charge on innovation, which, by the way, I can't imagine that happening. But if it were to happen, then he needs to have a complete change of heart on how he's doing things. Bezos paying the FAA to stall SpaceX, perhaps so, perhaps. There are a lot of requirements in this FAA document, but at the same time, there is a lot required from an engineering standpoint to get Starship to orbit. I've always felt that 2022 is going to be the earliest that Starship can possibly get to orbit. It's just a huge task. The biggest rocket, most powerful rocket in human history. That's just not an easy thing to do. It really isn't. And yes, Elon did make a recent statement that we could fly Starship to orbit next month if the FAA gives its approval. Don't know. He says a lot of stuff like that. Richard, thank you so much for the super chat. The scrapping of the HLS mock-up nose cone holds any significance? Boy, I don't know about that one. I don't like to read too much into that. I mean, it was taking up space. I have to admit, every time I went to Boca Chica, that thing was just in the way. It didn't serve any real purpose. So they may need a new design, a new mock-up, or a new pathfinder for Lunar Starship. Also, another thing to consider is the fact that SpaceX wouldn't want to give Blue Origin any excuses to say that they're working on Lunar Starship right now when NASA has a work stoppage. So taking apart the mock-up might be a good move for them from a legal standpoint. SpaceX sees the human race must go interplanetary in order to survive. BOC is only beating everyone else while locking the race into an outmoded company store to get into space. Let's see, and we have some other comments here. The Vulcan 52L and larger can do missions that New Glenn can't. Yeah, and plus the tyranny of inclination may make Starship too much rocket for some missions. Vulcan, Neutron, Falcon 9, and others. The late 2020s looks wild for boosters. Blue Origin is about to slow roll themselves out of the market. Yeah, they are. They really are. They are moving entirely too slow to compete with all of these other launch providers who are really after it. Any chance to write a letter to the FAA to get permission? Feel free to write your letter. Feel free to make your comments and all that sort of thing. I personally do not feel comfortable giving my own opinions to the FAA on the whole South Padre permission thing. And let me tell you why. I don't live there. I will never live there. So my property, my house, anything I own, nothing else is ever going to be subject to a possible accident, to sonic booms that can shatter windows, that sort of thing. Since I don't have a vested interest there. I don't feel comfortable in giving my own opinion to the FAA on that situation. I think the residents of that area or people who intend to move there, they're the ones who have the right to give their opinions to the FAA. Lewis, thank you so much for your support, and you're welcome. I will keep that work coming, most definitely. And thank you. We've had lots of good questions and comments here. So that's one thing. Another thing is private space stations. Jeff has spoken many times about using the second stage of New Glenn as a space station, much in the same way as people have talked about using Starship as a space station, repurposing the second stage of New Glenn as a space station. That could be another place where they could innovate their way into relevance. All of that's a problem with these guys. They got a lot of great ideas, but they don't have a lot of execution. They really don't. The only place where I've seen execution is just New Shepard, and that's about it. Can Starship launch suborbital without the desalination plant? Joe, yes, they can. That is to say, if you're asking about the orbiter, just the Starship portion being launched to a higher altitude than it's flown up to this point, yes, it can. And they can also launch super heavy, but the stacked solution cannot be launched without everything that the FAA has put into place. And let's see, Mr. Isayama, I believe. Do you think that the West, especially America, will keep up with China in the future? Why are people in the West less interested in space, more interested? Yeah, that's a good question. China is making tremendous progress in space. They've been demonstrating that a lot as of late. They are determined and laser focused on dominating LEO and dominating the moon. They are seriously after that objective, and we are falling behind. I mean, it's as simple as that. The West is falling behind. So yeah, and attended the FAA comment periods or zero valid EA concerns. Seeing the Boca Chica's carbon-laden beach with hillbillies driving all over the turtle egg nesting areas. Yeah, I've seen that too. Actually, I've seen lots and lots of garbage out in the Boca Chica area at the beach and that sort of thing. And this is not being put out there by SpaceX aficionados. If anything, I've seen SpaceX fans cleaning up the garbage. So yeah, it's a I don't know. I don't see a real serious environmental issue as far as trashing the local area is concerned and that sort of thing. Now, the methane burning plant that's going to be required in order to desalinate all that water, that's a big consideration. We'll see what it takes as far as that's concerned. The stormwater collection ponds are more than enough for orbital stack launches. Really, that's a lot of water. All I know is what the FAA has as far as requirements are concerned. If if we're going to use an alternative for the noise suppression system and for a deluge system, then that alternative needs to be spelled out in a new FAA document and then presented again to the public for commentary. So any deviation from what is being from what's in the FAA document right now would just delay the project further. Excuse me. So as a result, what we've got, what's on paper there, and if it's changed, it's probably going to delay things even longer. So you pretty much just need to do what's required in the document. So and once again, back to Blue Origin. So the commercial crew, maybe an opportunity for them. Private space stations, maybe an opportunity for them. If Blue Origin really wants to do what they say they want to do, export heavy industry and damaging things off the planet, start mining the resources of the solar system and manufacturing outside of Earth's environment for the good of this planet, then all of these things are required. We need to build an infrastructure in space. We need space stations. We need heavy lift capability. And right now, Jeff is not making enough progress on this. And you're right, Alan. Right now, it does seem that way. Elon is making very visible, obvious, tangible progress towards completing his objectives. Jeff is just suing people. And that just annoys the hell out of me. Now, if he takes all this money that he's going to make off of New Shepard and plugs it into his long-term goals, then awesome. I would love to see that. Very much the case. Supax, I wish you the very, very best with what you're doing. I wish you the very best with your endeavor. I'm with you, brother. Anything I can do to help you, please let me know. And all the best. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you. Okay, let's move on. All right, we've got some more typing going on the Discord server. Once again, if you want to be part of the Discord Q&A, the ability to to DM me there, that sort of thing, just jump on Patreon. It's as little as $3 a month. Wow, Greg coming in with a massive super chat again. Thank you. Will Blue Origin buy up another rocket company or merge with a major aerospace company? That would be a good move on their part. If they were to buy a company that already has rockets, then yeah, that could take care of a lot of their issues. That could definitely cover a lot of their problems if they just gobbled somebody else up. Yeah, I'd say that would be a good plan. Will it happen? I don't know. But it would certainly be a good idea. I don't know what the best targets would be as far as that's concerned, but I think that they certainly could have some options there. So yeah, that would be a very good idea if they're not moving quickly enough to get heavy lift capability, building their own rocket, grab somebody else's rocket. And thank you so much for that incredibly generous super chat. You guys make a massive, massive difference. By the way, Lord Michael just made a statement. Come and join us on Discord. All it's worth the less than Starbucks coffee a month. Thank you so much. Oh, Arun Singh, thank you so much for your support. Really do appreciate that. Quite a super chat. Really do appreciate your support there. Wow, got supporters all over the world. It's so moving. Tombus, thank you so much for the 2 quid. Really do appreciate that, and I will keep the content coming. I'm planning on having another recorded video coming out tomorrow about Starship. This one's going to be more of a positive one. This one's going to be more about what can we do with Starship right now. So I'm very excited about that. Unlike Blue Origin, Firefly has promised. Yes, they do. I've done a video about Firefly. I think I should probably do something else about them sometime soon. But they have some significant lift capability when we're talking about small sats. They have the ability to really be very disruptive to the whole market. Jeff is a grifter. If he was for real, he would team up with Dream Chaser and Bigelow to show he isn't gaming the government. Yeah, if he would invest more of his own personal funds in what he's doing in general, instead of trying to secure these contracts and spending so much money on litigation to secure these contracts, that would make so much more of a difference. If Bezos buys startups who make progress, he will not let them work. He would just destroy them, just like he destroys opportunity for his employees to work. You know, the guy's accomplished a lot with Amazon. I'm not a huge fan of it because he's crushed so many other companies in doing it. But at the same time, he has demonstrated that he can make a company work. But at the same time, he hasn't shown that his success with Amazon can be transitioned into a space company yet. I have a feeling that a merger between Bezos and another space company would resemble a hostile takeover. Yeah, it probably would. I would say that's probably the case. I wouldn't want the legacy of my company to be gobbled up by Jeff Bezos. Definitely not the case. I wouldn't be terribly happy about that at all. So, in terms of things that are coming up, so we've discussed the opportunities that Blue Origin could theoretically have: commercial crew, private space stations, all of these things that they have talked about. And then also, of course, Congress has recently put forward their request to, or not their request, pretty much their demand for NASA to release or to put out a second human landing system. And given that Blue Origin can deliver that system less expensively than anybody else, it seems likely that they may be able to get that opportunity, which would be absolutely terrible, at least with what they have currently proposed. Now, if they propose something a lot better, then that could change things. Korea's attempt to launch their first domestically built rocket. Yes, they did make a significant effort there. I thought that was a great first try on their part. And it definitely shows that South Korea is putting forward a tremendous effort to try to get to orbit and to become a space power of their own. Lots of countries are making this effort. I applaud all of them. Definitely making a big difference towards mankind's expansion out into the solar system, into LEO, to export our industry into space, to open up new space-based industries of all kinds. There's also a bunch of new space station opportunities as well. A lot of collaborations between companies. Watching the southwest of the UK. Hello, just up the road from the spaceport. Blue Origin are a blight on the space community. Most dishonorable. Luke, yeah, I agree with you right now. They certainly have been. They're not doing a lot towards the advancement of space flight. Red Dragon, bring it back as the second option. It's interesting, Tony. Red Dragon might make for a good scout ship of some kind or something like that. But SpaceX has definitely made it clear that they've abandoned that project and they're moving forward with Starship. They're laser focused on that objective, and also Falcon Heavy to a great degree, and Crew Dragon. They're planning on building more Crew Dragons than they originally intended to do, probably because NASA has a greater need for them than they were originally anticipating, because, of course, for the situation with Starliner. It's been quite pathetic indeed, what's been going on with Starliner. So obviously they're going to need more Crew Dragons, and they may need another option. As a matter of fact, I think they should be pursuing another option as soon as possible. And as I said in my recent video, NASA has taken the first step towards getting that new option. Thank you, Richard. I heard the secret knowledge. Nibiru orbit 2 stars in the brown earth, making the moon wobble on our pole. Secret knowledge. I'm afraid I'm not terribly familiar with what you're talking about. Nibiru, I've heard of that, but I'm afraid I can't comment on it. Sorry. Boeing is a disgrace, profits before product. Yeah, that's been a case with them for quite some time. The only chance that Boeing has to at least partially redeem themselves is if SLS actually launches in February, as they're claiming. If it actually does get off the ground, I will be impressed with that. Joycey, I'm glad you're a fan of Dream Chaser, because I am too. I think that has always been the better option. And the good news is Sierra Space, as I've said before, has worked on the Dream Chaser project and getting it human rated all the time since they were turned down. They've continued to push forward on that. So as far as that's concerned, yeah, they're definitely the best option when we're talking about alternatives to Starliner. Really do, yeah. I think it's cool too, James. It is neat that so many people are getting into space flight, and it's not just restricted to the United States anymore. Obviously, it's going everywhere. Obviously, the British are doing a lot. Germany has some independent space flight issues that I haven't done episodes on. I really need to. India has their own space flight program. How much? We didn't quite see that question from Marina. Interesting, how much time would it take SpaceX to make Crew Dragon able to reboot ISS if NASA gives the money, and would they do that? Good question. I don't know. SpaceX hasn't been heavily into the space station business. They don't seem to be. They're more into transportation than they are into bases. More Dragons because of increased demand. Long-term Starship life support will be worked out in space. They need a human transport vehicle. Yeah. As far as life support is concerned, that's the only thing SpaceX currently has operational is the Crew Dragon. We've only got about 2 minutes left. Just so you know, don't quite have the endurance that I used to. As a lot of you know, I've been suffering through a long-term illness, infection, that sort of thing. So in any event, kind of run out of steam a little faster than I used to. Blue Origin sucks. The Sue Society. NASA needs to sue Jeff right now. Yeah, NASA needs to go after a number of people, not just Jeff, but also Boeing, and their inability to produce a really effective alternative to Crew Dragon, which is something that NASA needs. And it's really messed up a lot of NASA's plans. Thank you, T-Side. Really do appreciate the 10 quid. A couple of pints of Old Peculiar. I love Old Peculiar. I have had Old Peculiar quite a number of times in my life. One of my favorites. to say the least. Can't wait to get back over to Great Britain. So, guys, this is where I am going to be wrapping up. So, once again, there are opportunities for Blue Origin to turn things around. They have a chance to start innovating and start trying to take the lead in something aside from litigation. But until they actually decide to do it, until they actually decide to take the lead into space and live up to the legacy of what they've talked about all this time, exporting our industry, exporting destructive things off of this planet, until they really do what they say they were trying to do in the first place. I urge all of you to stay angry about space.